Last week, mayoral candidate Mike Thomas shared the history of when Forney came to be known as Forney, noting that 2023 would be the 150th anniversary of Forney, Texas. In that post, he tagged the City of Forney's Facebook page, asking if the city was planning a big celebration to commemorate this milestone. His post piqued my curiosity, especially since I had just attended the last Parks and Recreation Board meeting, and when a review of planned events was covered, no such celebration was discussed. So I took it a few steps further by sharing this post on the state of Forney and tagging the City of Forney, Forney Parks and Events, and Amanda Lewis. Next, I emailed the city manager, assistant city manager, the Parks and Rec director, and all of City Council asking for the date of the event, time of the event, location of the event, and who vendors would contact to take part in the event. Lastly, I submitted a public information request for any and all budgetary numbers and information pertaining to a planned 150th anniversary celebration/event for the City of Forney. Those questions seemed to cause a bit of a butt pucker at City Hall. I just so happened to go to City Hall later that day, and lo and behold, the city manager, parks director, and communications director were having a meeting. The following day, the City of Forney's Facebook page replied to my post on the state of Forney. They explained that the city was officially recognized by the state with a proclamation for its 150th anniversary in 2021. They also explained that they incorporated that quote-unquote celebration into the Independence Day event that year. They went on to say that Parks and Rec is currently working with the Spelman Museum to coordinate a Founders Day celebration on June 9th and 10th, which the special events coordinator briefly discussed on the first episode of the Forney Now Podcast that was released January 20th, 5 days before my post. They also provided a tentative schedule of events on the city's website, tentative being important to this subject, as you will see in a bit. I also received a reply to my email by the Parks Director with a similar explanation later that same day. Before I get to the response from the city and the information they provided, let's go over a quick history of Forney. Early settlement of the area that would become known as Forney began in 1847 and really began to increase in the 1850s. Some of those early settlements were given names you might recognize, like Union Hill, Lone Elm, and a village named Brooklyn, which is what the area would be known as through the early 1870s. By 1873, Brooklyn was a growing town with saloons, a merchandise store, a lodge, and supported by a few hundred people. This was the year the Texas and Pacific Railroad first came through Brooklyn. As the town progressed, through the influence that the railroad provided, it was now ready for a post office. The name of Brooklyn was submitted to the post office department in Washington, D.C., but another town with a post office already existed by the name of Brooklyn, so another name had to be submitted. John Forney, born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania in 1817, was a director of the Texas and Pacific Railroad Company and was believed to have been instrumental in the new railroad route through the village of Brooklyn. In gratitude to Mr. Forney, several influential residents suggested Forney's name be submitted as a post office, and it was accepted. Thus, the name of the town of Forney was established permanently. As you can see, there is no historical significance to the year 1871 as it pertains to the town of Brooklyn or Forney, and Forney became the permanent name of our town in 1873, which means the town of Forney, Texas will, or perhaps will not, celebrate its 150th anniversary this year. Now back to the city's response. Yes, the 150th anniversary of Forney was recognized with a proclamation at the November 2nd, 2021 City Council meeting by State Representative Keith Bell. Keith Bell stated in the proclamation that the city of Forney became Forney in 1871, which is incorrect. On top of that, the city never planned a celebration for such an important milestone. They merely added some 150 logos to banners and graphics for the annual Independence Day event and called it a day. In their response on the state of Forney, they point out that Forney Parks and Events is working with the Spelman Museum to coordinate a Founders Day weekend on June 9th and 10th that was briefly talked about in their first Forney Now podcast. During that podcast, the communications director asked the events coordinator what new events are being planned for Forney, and the response was that there is one being looked into, but the events coordinator stated not to hold them to it. That is the Founders Day event mentioned in the city's response to me. At no time during this discussion was Forney's 150th anniversary mentioned. The event would merely be an annual event that celebrated Forney heritage, and the public information request I submitted for the budgetary numbers allotted for a 150th anniversary celebration was returned with a response that no such records existed. The events coordinator even mentions working with the Spelman Museum to figure out the correct dates that Forney was founded. All right, fine, Sean. What's the big deal? Look, I love the idea of an annual Founders Day event, and Ricky, the events coordinator, has some great ideas and high hopes for events here in Forney. Something you may have noticed I preach about often. Great events promote our city, give families activities to look forward to in the city in which they live, provide free marketing for the businesses that call Forney home, attract tax dollars that go directly to our city budget, and provide a sense of community by bringing families together. A proper 150th anniversary celebration in particular would promote a sense of community that would benefit Forney in particular. It's easy for people to dwell on issues such as traffic, a need for more amenities, and the smell of a paper recycling plant. The city of Forney had an opportunity to bring the community together and promote where we started, how far we've come, what we have, and our history, a history that started with the railroad coming through the town of Forney and brought attention to this great city. That missed opportunity is due to a lack of leadership. This town should have 150th anniversary banners all around town, especially downtown, and even on Highway 80 right now. We should be promoting our history on social media. We should be preparing our citizens for one hell of a celebration. City leaders past and present should be on the schedule to give historical presentations about Forney. Tram rides around downtown Forney that visit historical markers with our hometown historians telling our kids the story of Forney. The Spelman Museum with events scheduled up to the day of the celebration. The opportunities are endless. But since there is no vision or passion at City Hall, we got some 150 logos and a proclamation in the wrong year. On top of that, they didn't even turn their microphone on when our state rep read the proclamation so we could hear it. Maybe we can all go to the big celebration Wills Point has planned for their 150th anniversary this year instead. See the video description below for the sources used in this video. For more videos like these, subscribe to the State of Forney on YouTube and like and share the State of Forney on Facebook.